Everyone, Tristan back with another video, and in this video we are taking a look at and reviewing these headphones. These are the brand new Audeze LCD-5 headphones, and I'd like to thank Woo Audio for sending out a pair for me for a review. I really appreciate it. And note that Woo Audio is a authorized Audeze retailer, so you might want to consider buying from them. I will post links in the description field. So let's talk about these headphones. They are $4,500 headphones, so they're quite expensive headphones, and Audeze is kind of considering these their current flagship model headphones. And as you can see, the form factor is different. First of all, they're a lot lighter than any previous LCD series headphones. They're under 500 grams, so instantly when you pick them up they feel much lighter, which is really a welcome aspect of the form factor. So we'll talk about that some in this video. We'll talk about the build quality, the form factor, and then of course the sound in this video. So yeah, the lightness of them is certainly a plus, and I think if Audeze can actually implement this sort of form factor in all of their headphones going forward, it's going to be a plus, because in the past Audeze headphones have been a bit too heavy, so that is certainly welcome. The ear surrounds, I don't know if you can see in this video, it's kind of a dark color. It's not wood, it's actually an acetate. So an acetate is kind of sort of like a durable plastic. Acetate also is the kind of plastic that a lot of eyeglasses are made out of, plastic eyeglass frames. So it's no longer wood, and I don't know how durable that is in terms of the acetate, if it's going to wear down or dull or anything or oxidize over the years. I'm just not sure. I think it probably scratches a little bit easier than wood, but it's probably easier to manufacture and maybe cheaper to manufacture. Now, for all the specs and everything, check Audeze's website, because of course these headphones do have new specs in terms of like a new driver mechanism and all the technical stuff. I'm not going to get into all the technical stuff because there are other reviews that cover that. Mainly I just wanted to cover my impressions of these headphones in this review. But as you can see, they've got a nice look and build quality to them for sure. Now, one of the very unfortunate things is, while Audeze made these lighter and certainly more comfortable in that respect, the clamping force on them is quite hard. Like when you wear them, they really do push inward on your ears and on your head quite a bit, and that's really unfortunate. I think Audeze kind of missed on that aspect of these headphones, because the clamping force is a little bit too much. It's almost as if they have something against making really comfortable headphones or something, because I find that on these LCD-5s, I can't even wear them longer than any other Audeze headphones. Other Audeze headphones I can't wear for longer than about an hour because they're too heavy, but these I can't wear for longer than a couple hours because the clamping force is too hard on them. And you would think that you could bend this out, like the headband out, to compensate for that. However, it's not a metal headband, it's a carbon fiber headband, so it's not going to stay. You're not able to really bend that very easily. So, that's one negative about that. It seems like when you're wearing these, you're just as reminded that they're sort of uncomfortable Audeze LCD headphones as you were with older LCD models, unfortunately. Now, I've also read other complaints of the high clamping force of these headphones, on the forums, and there is a rumor that Audeze may be coming out with a different headband, for these, maybe a larger headband or one that's not as strong on the clamping force, but that remains to be seen. As of this video, they haven't officially announced anything like that. The other thing is the ear pads are nice in that they kind of surround your ear. However, they're not quite large enough for my ears, and I find that the inside of these ear pads do kind of press in on my ears a little bit. So my ear doesn't completely fit inside here like they do on some other headphones. The ear opening is just not that big. But I do kind of like these sort of deep ear pads. Your ear kind of goes inside here, and they do kind of sort of fit around the ear quite nicely. Although, I do kind of think the headphones and the ear opening can actually stand to be a little bit larger for my liking. And in taking a look at the headphones from the side, the sort of shape of these is completely round, and it reminds me of the Hi-Fi Man HE6 headphones, if you're familiar with those, just in terms of the size of the round ear cups and stuff like that. So in some ways I might prefer a bit more of an oval opening rather than, as you can see, it's kind of an oval opening, but it's kind of rectangular. My ears don't fit 100% inside of it. And also the high clamping force on these headphones contributes to these ear pads kind of pressing in on your ears, sort of hard. So they're definitely lighter than prior LCD headphones, although they are still not super cushy and super comfortable. For comparison, I find my Hi-Fi Man Arias a lot more comfortable than these, especially for long periods of listening. But in general, I think this is really a step in the right direction for Audeze, and just the lightness of these is really a plus, because all prior versions of the LCD headphones have definitely been a bit too heavy, especially for long periods. And also you do have this sort of leather comfort band inside here, which kind of helps for comfort as well. But yeah, in terms of the build quality, I think it's pretty good build quality. I just wish that they would have engineered the clamping force a little bit better. It's just too high and still just not very comfortable, and I think Audeze kind of failed on that aspect. And also, just let me touch on price before we start on the sound quality of these. I think $4,500 is frankly too expensive for these headphones in terms of not only sound but also look and feel and build quality. They feel like maybe $2,000 or $2,500 head, but $4,500 for these headphones, in my opinion, is just way too much. That's just kind of my opinion on that. I just think they're priced a bit too high. Certainly, there's going to be Audeze fans and fanatics that will buy these just as a matter of course, just because they love Audeze, and maybe that's what Audeze is kind of banking on here. But again, $4,500 for these headphones is really high. As you can see here, they do swivel as well, so you can lay them flat or something like that. In both directions they swivel. That can be a slight negative, because sometimes as you lay them down on a table, they don't really sit upright. Like sometimes they'll tend to topple over and kind of look like that on your table. But also they're light enough to, I think, put on a headphone stand and not have any problems in terms of the headphone stand wearing them out or anything like that. So let's go ahead and talk about the sound signature of the LCD-5s. Well, the first thing you should know is that they are definitely sort of a mid-forward headphone. So vocals and guitars are going to sound forward. So they're definitely not 100% neutral. They have a real mid-rangey sound. That happens to be a sound signature that I actually really like. It's sort of my preferred sound signature, actually. So that, to me, was pleasant. I found that I did not really need to EQ these except that I did find that I needed to EQ up the bass a bit, because these don't really have much of a bass boost. So I kind of like a little bit more bass than these provide out of the box. So I did find that the only EQ I needed to do with these was to bass boost a little bit, and then it became a sound that I really enjoyed. But yeah, if you like those really nice forward mids where vocals just sound kind of forward of the mix, and also guitars, these headphones really do have that sort of sound signature. And then the highs are also a little bit recessed on these as well. So the highs aren't real forward, they're actually lower than the mids in terms of the frequency spectrum, in terms of the frequency response, although they are still quite resolving. So that's another thing I like about these as well. The highs really aren't overblowing your eardrums or anything like that. Audeze has generally always had really nice highs and smooth highs and not harsh highs, and that also gives them a very nice sort of almost analog-like sound. They don't sound very metallic in that respect because the highs are kind of toned down. So in that respect, these headphones are very polite sounding, and even when you turn them up really loud, they're not going to be really harsh in your ears or give you a lot of ear strain or anything like that, because overall they just have a really polite sound signature, definitely with an emphasis on the mids. Vocals just sound forward and super smooth and clear and crisp. Your first impression when you put these on is, wow, you can really hear the vocals super crisp and clear. And that is sort of falling in line with Audeze's sound signature, because most of their headphones do have really good mids. I would say these LCD-5s, though, even have more forward mids than prior Audeze headphones. So in general, I really do like the overall sound signature and tonality of these quite a bit. In terms of soundstage, these headphones have what I would say equal soundstage to my Hi-Fi Man Arias. So they're not a real closed-in soundstage like some other Audeze headphones that aren't real wide, such as the LCD-2s. But then again, they're about equal to my Hi-Fi Man Arias in terms of the overall soundstage and the width of it. So I don't really have any complaints with regards to soundstage with these. Although they're not going to be as wide as something as like the Sennheiser HD 800s or something like that. Now these are 14 ohm headphones, so they say that they're relatively easy to drive. However, they still do benefit from having like a powerful headphone amplifier. I did try them using my Cord Mojo, and they did sound quite good, very listenable and everything like that. But then using the Cord Mojo and comparing these with other headphones, such as the Audio Quest Night Owl Carbons, there wasn't really much difference in terms of sound signature. And I think that just goes to show you that these will scale up quite a bit when you give them more power, because when I plug them into my Cord Hugo TT2, which outputs in single engine mode, I believe a maximum of something like 7.2 watts, which is really plenty of power to drive these, they did scale up quite nicely and started sounding definitely a lot better, mostly with more bass bloom, and even the mids were even a little bit more forward as well with more power. That being said, I think these headphones will work with more sources, being with 14 ohms. They're not super duper hard to drive, although they will scale up better with a headphone amplifier for sure. And speaking to that, I actually kind of would prefer if the impedance was actually higher. I think 14 ohms is a little bit low for these. That was one of the complaints I also had with my Audeze LCD-4Zs. I just wish the impedance was actually higher and they were actually harder to drive, because I feel like I could better take advantage of my nice headphone amplifier that way. And they might even sound better and more impactful that way. You look at headphones like the Hi-Fi Man Sasvara or the Hi-Fi Man HE6. Both of those headphones are extremely hard to drive, but when driven well, the sound is amazingly sweet. But those headphones don't really appeal to a very mass audience because they're so hard to drive. So for the Audeze LCD-5s, I'd kind of prefer if they were a little bit more in the middle in that respect, with a higher impedance of maybe, 60 ohms or 100 ohms or something like that. So all in all, I think this is really a good direction for Audeze in terms of the overall form factor and the way they're going with lighter headphones. I do wish the clamping force on these was a little bit less, and that would make them certainly a lot more comfortable, but in terms of the weight and the lightness of these, they've done a very good job with these. I also think that the $4,500 price tag on these is quite high, although on the other hand, these are made in the USA, in California, so it's not as if they're making these in China or anything, so I guess you kind of do expect to pay a bit of a premium for that aspect. But I just think the price range on these for what you get is pretty high, given that they don't sound to me all that much better than my $1,600 Hi-Fi Man Arias. Now the Arias I do have to EQ a little bit more and actually boost the mids a little bit, where with these I don't. But the Hi-Fi Man Arias, for example, are less than half the cost of these, and so in that respect they represent a sort of much better value than these do just overall. Also note for the eagle-eyed viewers out there, these headphone cables are not the stock headphone cables. These are actually the Meze headphone cables. I believe these are the ones that come with the Empyrean, and these are just what were supplied with this demo unit of the LCD-5s. So that's what I would use to listen to these with. So in order to wrap up this video, I would like to thank you for making it this far in my review video of the Audeze LCD-5 headphones. All in all, I think Audeze is going in a right direction here in terms of making headphones that are more light, but I think they still have a little bit of work to do in terms of the clamping force in general, because again, these do have a bit too high clamping force, which in turn makes them not all that much more comfortable than the heavier Audeze headphones, which is really a shame. I think these headphones are really quite expensive, but I think diehard Audeze fans will probably buy them anyway, and you won't really be disappointed in terms of the sound signature if you like a mid-forward sort of smooth tonality to your headphones. So thanks for watching this video, and for more community discussion, I will see you in the comments field, and be sure to check the description field for more information and pricing and availability as well.